Hello, Bud Files. KP Heathen, hello. Uncle Al, by Bullfrog 79, and Enrique Trevino. Utah Mike. Hopefully the chicken coop will be done in the morning. That chicken coop is starting to look like a chicken condo. Four in the house, 6 likes. Yeah, they'll have new leaders. It's a new generation of chickens. I'm going to have 2 coops. I'm building a second coop. That way I can have multiple generations and keep them separated. Mom of 4 boys. Hello, Rachel. Thank you. No, the elves will not be working overnight, but we'll hopefully get it done in the morning. Got to put the finishing touches up, and then got to string wire. But the actual the actual structure is built. And it's been a pain in the butt, an expensive pain in the butt. Yeah, there may be a coup among the chickens' leadership. Well, and usually somebody like Enrique will ask, what's the topic? One of the things I'd like to talk about is that it's coming out that the government has been giving a lot of money to the American media, the left-wing American media. Pimp the coop. Right. Um, 7 in the house, 7 likes. No, but apparently it started with Politico, and they didn't make payroll, and they shut down the next payment, or the next, the next support payment, or whatever you want to call it, that they were going to get from the government. So they didn't meet payroll, and everybody's freaking out because they didn't get paid, and they're trying to say, "Oh, there's a problem with the bank, or there's a problem with this, or a problem with that," Then as they start looking, as they start looking, the government's been giving millions of dollars to fund American media, and not just that one institution. They've been spreading it around. So you wonder why they're so, you know, they got skin in the game for the liberal, the Democratic Party, the socialists and everything. Why do they have skin in the game for them? Well, they're getting paid by them. They're paying them. They're getting support from them. Well, I tell you, last school year, I came out of retirement. I'd been out of education for 5 years, and I had been working as a hourly manager at Walmart, what they call a team lead. I was getting lots of hours, getting lots of overtime, making tons of money. A lot of times, you work 5 days a week, 40 hours. A lot of times I'd work 6. There were times when I worked 7 days, and they'd call me up and ask me if I could come in. So I went back to work. I applied for a job. I applied for 2 positions. The place where I work called me up, asked me to come in for an interview. I interviewed, and they offered me the position the same day. Went over to do paperwork at central office. We're going to get right on this, and then, oh, we can't find your personnel file. Now, mind you, I had been a school administrator for the better part of 10 years for VISD, where I work. I had come in, and I'd had the position of assistant principal when I came in. I'd actually taken a step down when I left Corpus, but I wanted to be up here in Victoria, so I took a position. Inside of a couple of weeks, they offered me a better position, which I turned down because I felt bad for the person who had hired me. And I'm a fairly loyal person, so I said no. At this point, I really can't. I really couldn't. I really feel bad about it because the school year's already started and they have a hell of a time, and so I didn't do it. Melinda Elliott, hello, Melinda Elliott. Thumb 7, I think. Thumb 7, I got 9 likes. Thank you, Melinda. So, it had been, I left in the last 5 years. I didn't work before I retired. I worked for another school district. So it had been retired for 5 years, somewhere else for 5 years. So it had been 10 years or more, a little over 10 years since I'd worked for VISD. They couldn't find my personnel file. Well, we're going to need this, and we're going to need that, and we're going to need the other, and we're going to need your transcript. And I used a program called Canva to get an electronic copy of my transcript. Well, I get an email the next day. You're going to be a little late in getting your transcript because it's not uploaded electronically. It's a hard copy, and we're going to have to go into the files, the dead files, because mind you, we're talking a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and it had apparently been stored on a scroll, so I had to go find the right scroll. Back before computers. Get a TB test. Idaho Garden Girl, hello. I understand. My wife is probably out feeding chickens right now. No, they're not quite that old, but they are probably on parchment. Anyway, so it took several days to get my transcript. And they were having to recreate some stuff and all this BS. And then they said, well, can you do it? You see how school's getting ready to start? Because I basically, it was like the week before school was supposed to start. Can you do it as a substitute until we can get your contract and your paperwork and everything so you can get started? Yeah, I guess I can. 6 weeks later, I get my contract. After 6 weeks working, basically I've been working as a long-term sub for 6 weeks. Now, I couldn't use the internal, I had email, but I could not do attendance, couldn't do online attendance. I couldn't do online grade book. I didn't have a working key card to get into my building. I had to depend on other people. I didn't have a master key. I had a key to the door, but I couldn't get into the building. So I really suffered. So it was 9 weeks into the school year before I had access to the electronic grade book, before I could do electronic attendance. I used to have to do paper copies. I'm getting paid. Hello, Little on Prepper. I'm getting paid substitute pay. I mean, they were saving big bucks. A substitute was getting $85 a day. Now, once you've done it for 10 days, once you've done it in a row for 10 days, then you get $110 a day. You know. So, I mean, they saved, for that 6 weeks, they saved $7,500, maybe $7,000. Saving money because I'm at the top of the pay scale. Retirees, bringing me back as a retiree hire. I have over 30 years in. I'm at the top of the pay scale. At that time, they maxed you out at 25 years. This year, the board had passed that you get a step raise for every year. So I'm at like 32, you know. But anyway, they saved a lot of money. And I went through a lot of headaches. That's the type of crap that they will pull on you. And then when I finally did get a paycheck, didn't have my stipend money on it, because you get paid stipend money being a special education teacher. You get paid stipend money for retention, and you get paid stipend money for being a RISE teacher, or what we call a behavioral unit. Didn't have any of that money on there. And they didn't get me straightened out with that until like my January paycheck. That's how bad it was with their, payroll. Well, nobody said anything to us about that, and we didn't know this. And then, you talk to HR. Well, we sent it over to them. Yeah. That's about the way it is. And then, you say something to the campus, says, well, it's not our fault. We didn't have anything to do with that. Everybody's pointing at everybody else. You know, and I feel sorry for people when they come in, new people, because it is what it is, though. So back to my topic. The government has been giving millions of funds, millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and a lot of millions, to different American media outlets, the liberal ones. That's been coming out. That's the big topic in the news right now. Anybody like to comment on that? Please leave your comments. I'd appreciate it. Nine in the house, 10 likes. What are your thoughts on that? I did upload a couple of shorts today. I just uploaded one about an hour ago. I did not work on any videos. I didn't. When I get off here, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm tired. I periodically went out to check on the progress on the chicken coop. Wife would periodically have to go and buy something. It's like doing a little construction project. Well, I need this. Got to go buy that, you know. Yeah, some of the print media too. Some of the print media too. Getting money. Very aggravating. You know, and Doge is finding this. Oh, and the socialists are going crazy. They're protesting. They're ranting. You should have seen Chuck Schumer. They had him trying to chant. He lost his breath, started coughing. 2 or 3 screams and he starts coughing. He's getting too old to do that, you know. He's standing right there with, that black loudmouth from California. She's out there in San Francisco. The one that was telling people to harass Trump's cabinet in the last time he was in office. You got an outbreak of TB. Horrible. Yeah, it's not good. Yeah, Waters. I don't know. I really don't know. It's disgusting. Maxine Waters, that's right. That's right, that's her name. They tried to get into a government building. A bunch of them marched over and trying to get into a government building. They wouldn't let them in. I saw a clip about that. She's raising Cain, you know. They got the right to go in and protest. And security wouldn't let them in. Well, we're elected, you know, we're elected members of Congress. We're the government. And they didn't let her in. I want to know who you are. What's your name? I want to see your badge. Well, it's the one out there in Los Angeles, or no, San Francisco, Uncle Al. The one that passed away, I think, was the one in Houston. I think she was the one that passed away. She tried to run for mayor and she lost, and then she she got her she kept her seat in Congress. That's when I think that passed away. Somebody could probably Google it or do a search. I know you live in California, Uncle Al. I know you live in California. Ten in the house and 10 likes. Oh, you're going to make me look for it. Yep, it's the same one. She's 86 years old. Democrat, California, 43rd District. Maxine Moore Waters. She's 86. That was the one. No, she's not a senator, she's a representative. I guess she's what you call a congresswoman. Yeah, they're playing that clip on TV when she was trying to get into this building. Yep, she is. Well, the problem is, Uncle Al, there are 52 congressional seats in California. Republicans hold 9 of them. There are 52 congressional seats in California, and the Republicans hold 9 of them. The rest are socialists. I think she's the one that passed away. She was like 90, 91, 92. They were basically just propping her up and voting for her. Yeah. No, Feinstein. That's the one. Okay, Dianne Feinstein. Yeah. Hello, Kayla Boo. Thank you for coming. Please leave a like to support the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Levin in the house. 10 likes. Yeah, we're just talking. So, Los Angeles, the whole constabulary, they're all left-wing nuts. Their whole city council, there aren't any conservatives in the city council. They're all left-wing nuts. Mayor pro tem, or what do you call them? I mean, the whole constabulary, they're all a bunch of nuts. They're all a bunch of nuts. And you want to know why things are so screwed up? Yeah, they're seeing a clip. Apparently there's another fire out there that started up. Burned about 10,000 acres so far. Um, and that fire's threatening. Forget what that fire's threatening. You'd have to ask Uncle Al. He's a lot more. He's a lot more up on that than I am. Yeah, arson. The homeless. They're setting fires. They don't want to say that, but the homeless are setting fires. It's a real mess. It's a real mess. Right now in my English that I'm working with a few kids in English, one of the subjects is I teach in my behavioral unit. I do the core subjects. We're reading a Ray Bradbury book. Well, it's actually a short story. Dark They Were with Golden Eyes. And it's one of those like the Martian Chronicles where we go to Mars and we're colonizing Mars. Our rocket ships are colonizing Mars. But stuff that would never happen is the rockets were launching from New York City. And no, we wouldn't launch anything that far north. And they were like having daily rockets to Mars, which if we went to Mars right now with the technology we have, it would take months to get there. It'd take months to get back. And in this story, now mind you, Ray Bradbury was born in 1920, and he's a grandmaster of science fiction. If any of you read science fiction and know who Ray Bradbury is, like Fahrenheit 451, that's a Ray Bradbury. That's probably his signature, his best one. Which Fahrenheit 451 is the temperature at which paper will burn. And Yoda, my friend. A house in the neighborhood was rented last week. They were moving in yesterday, and someone else showed up with a lease. Turned out the second person had been scammed and already paid a lot of money. Yeah, that's happening. How are you doing, Dave? Yeah, you got to watch out for scams. I've had my card hacked several times, where I've had to report purchases that I didn't make. So anyway, Bradbury died in 2012. He lived to be 92. He's considered one of the grand masters of science fiction. And he was writing back at a time when we really didn't know what the surface of Mars looked like. We didn't know whether it had an atmosphere. We thought it was probably populated by an old civilization older than us, like old buildings. They might have died out, or they might, So a lot of the stuff that was being written was the idea of breathable air. We were able to go and send lots, sort of like Elon Musk. He wants to send hundreds of starships to Mars to put permanent colonies on Mars and sending supplies to Mars. And, the idea of daily ships arriving, you know, transit ships. And in reality, with the technology that we have, it would take months to get there. Every 2 years, there's a window for us to launch that the planets are in the right position to where we can go there in a few months. So basically, it's like, you've got a certain timeline. And eventually we'll be doing that. But it won't be no daily trips, unless we really, and way down the road, if we're still around and we have a different propulsion system, something that you can get up a lot faster, you can cut your travel time down. The thing is that the faster, the more fuel you need to have to increase your speed. You're limited, and they use like orbital assist type stuff where you fly by another planet, or to get an orbital assist to boost your speed. It's real complicated. I'm not an expert on it. I'm basically repeating stuff that I've heard multiple times. But back in the day when they were writing science fiction, like Robert Heinlein and Bradbury and some of the people who were writing way back when, Isaac Asimov, we didn't know because we hadn't we didn't have we were in the infancy of our space programs, and we hadn't sent missions to any of these planets. We hadn't orbited these planets with satellites. We didn't have pictures of what the surfaces look like. So they come up with all sorts of fictional ideas. Every time we settle a new land, we send convicts and criminals, like Australia. Botany Bay. Early people sent to the colonies were people in trouble with the law. Might be some of my ancestors. The Lins were here a long time ago. My ancestors were originally part of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. And apparently, one of my ancestors, who was a Lin, was basically a merchant type. And he was here in the there's something other about him in 1640-ish, So within 25 years or so of the colonies, there's documentation of my ancestors being here. Had they been deported? I don't know. Have to Google that one. But they do a lot of orbital assist, or they do orbital. They get speed from orbits. They get an orbital send off. And there are no planets between the Earth and Mars. You know, Mars is the next planet out, so that's a good point. Yeah, a gravity assist. That's right, a gravity assist, Uncle Al. That's a good. That's the term for it. Gravity assist. Hello, body space. Myra. So, yeah, lots of reasons. Um, Plymouth colony was a religious. They came for religious. You know, they came for religious purposes. Plymouth colony. Jamestown, Virginia. That was a different. That was a royal sponsored. I think the Pilgrims, they they were in the Netherlands for a while before they came over. Holland. Okay, Holland. Um, Levin in the house, 10 likes. Please leave a like to support the channel. Yeah, orbital assist is a real thing. Yeah, the king of Spain control. He had land all over the place. He was related to a bunch of people, and he had land all over the bloody place. He was the rich man of Europe for a long time because of all the gold and all the stuff that they were bringing back from the Americas. The Spanish Habsburgs. They were the Habsburgs. Well, in Massachusetts, um, off from Boston, is a city called Lynn, Massachusetts. Last time I checked, it had a population of a couple 100,000. And I'm sure it was named after my ancestors who were originally up there, and then some of them went down to Georgia. And my father's people are from Georgia, but I've got a genealogy that I haven't seen in 20 years. Got to find it again to look at it. Goes back way back. Basically says who I'm related to. You must be an hour ahead of me. Yeah, you're an hour ahead of me. You're Eastern time. You know, it's neat. It's neat to think about who all we're related to. Um, my father is a Lynn. His mother was a Howell. Um, so my father's parents, Lynn married a Howell, and another one of the ancestral names is Beecher. There was some Beechers in there. And on my mother's side of the family, the Irish side, it was Odom and Gallagher. The Odoms and the Gallaghers. And the McGloins, because they're part of the St. Patrick, the Irish colony in San Patricio. So, yeah, trying to, you go back a couple of generations, you don't remember. I didn't know any of those people. I just basically know of them. They were, they're in the books. Changing my snake flag to a new flag, see short or video. Yeah, my ancestors came from Germany and the UK, the Isles, southern Germany, Bavaria, the Riegers, Bavaria, the Olsons, Bavaria. You get a Rieger marrying an Olson. Back in the days, great grandparents. We all came from someplace. So we're finding out lots of stuff now that they have DNA testing. They can, if they can find, if they can find viable DNA, they can research it. And right now, they're looking at our ancestors and who was here, who was there, where they came from. How many were there? Like, if you go to South America and you go to the jungles and they start analyzing the dirt, all that jungle is overgrown. At one time, that was all basically farmlands. The Mesoamericans, before the explorers came, a lot of that land down there was in cultivation. They had large populations down there, and they were growing, planting, and they were fertilizing. And apparently, when the explorers came, they brought diseases with them and wiped out most all the population. So 100 years later, when the follow-up explorers were coming in and trying to actually go in there, and they'd had stories from the first explorers talking about all these, these natives in the cities that they had, and they didn't find any cities, and basically everything was overgrown. 100 years later, it all went back to seed, and it was all all jungle. So find out lots of stuff. Lots of stuff. So Noah had 3 sons: Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And they believed that Japheth was his children settled Europe. Ham, they were in Africa. And Shem, they went back east. Well, when the Spanish Armada in the 1500s, when the Spanish Armada decided it was going to invade England during the reign of Elizabeth the First, the redhead, there was a big storm, and a lot of the Armada washed up on Ireland, on the shores of Ireland. And that's where they got the Black Irish from. They said that from the people in the Armada. See, Ireland was mainly Catholic. The Spaniards were Catholic. So the men just basically stayed there. It wasn't like they were able to go back. But there was a lot of Spaniards that stayed in Ireland. And that's the old legend of where they get the Black Irish from. So there were various peoples back in the day. They had kids with one another. The so-called Neanderthals, and the reason why they call them the Neanderthals is where they found their first remains, area in France. And their people basically um, they were intertwined with ours, the so-called Homo sapiens, our people, and they basically petered out. You want to call petered out? Maybe 40,000 years ago, supposedly. And at that time, because of all the intermarriage and, well, they weren't really married, but because of all the inner children, our people had about 30% of their DNA. So our people were largely those people. And then over thousands and thousands and thousands of years and generations, a lot of the DNA whittled out. And we basically today, anywhere from 3 to 6% of our DNA is their DNA. So we basically kept the best parts of it. Like a lot of the DNA we kept helps our immunity system. Interbreeding, well, didn't want to call it, I didn't want to say that, but that's basically what it was. That's basically what it was. They found that red hair come from the Neanderthals. So those who have red hair, that was from the Neanderthals. That's one example. There was another um, group they call the Denisovans. They don't have a lot of their remains. They do have a lot of genetic DNA that would say that they had children with the Neanderthals. They had children with the Homo sapiens. Uh, everybody was having relations with everybody else. It was one of those things. They were all inter having children, and their DNA is more Russia, East Russia, Siberia, that area, down into Asia, down into the islands of Asia. Denisovans. They don't find a lot of remains because they think they cremated their dead. Sort of like the modern Asians, a lot of them do the cremation thing. So they don't find a lot of bones. Some, but nowhere near what they would with the Neanderthals because they buried their dead. Um, that might be where you get the facial characteristics of the Asians, the Denisovans. Then there was a very ancient group called Homo erectus. And the erectus, they're from the Homo family, but erectus was, well, they stood up and walked around, straight up stood and walked around. And they were around for a long time. They were like older. They were an older group. And they were in Africa. They were in Africa. And when they start looking at the sub-Saharan Africans, they don't have any of the Denisovan or the Neanderthal genes. They don't have those genes. And they were isolated, largely isolated. Yeah, I have a little Cherokee. My father's mother was part Cherokee. Green eyes. Devil Dog Prepper. Hello, Devil Dog Prepper. Thank you for coming. Please leave a like to support the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Been working on the other things today, trying to get the chicken coop done. Should probably post some pictures. Thought I'd put it in a video that I'm going to do. Put some images in the video. Green eyes are very, very, very rare. There's not a lot of green-eyed people. Some of the people in my family have green eyes. My Aunt Lily, my mother's younger sister, had green eyes. Most of them have blue eyes. The eldest, my Aunt Margaret, and my Aunt Lily had green eyes, and the other three have blue eyes. You know, statistically, darker hair and brown eyes, the vast majority of the world population have dark hair and brown eyes. Blood type O, universal donor, that's thought to be the oldest blood type. That blood type is the oldest blood type. Blood type O. Universal donors. If you have blood type O, anybody that needs a blood transfusion can take type O blood. It's not that way with the other blood types. They start talking about haplogroups and all sorts of ways that they make determinations. Like 9 out of 10 people are right-handed. 90% of the population right-handed. About a third of the male population will have male pattern baldness. And you get that gene from the mother, you don't get it from the father. The mother determines whether for baldness. Maybe 8 to 10% of the population in the world have blue eyes. That's a European, Northern European trait. Blue eyes. Green eyes, very few. Red hair, that's another one of those European characteristics. Blonde hair. Light skin, that comes from thousands of years and the diet. What my ancestors ate. If you go back 8,000 to 10,000 years ago in Europe, you'd have people with blue eyes, lighter colored hair, and dark skin. Apparently, it was a adaptation for what they ate. Like, my ancestors are not lactose intolerant. Most people around the world can tolerate milk until the age of about 4. And then the majority of the population develop or become lactose intolerant. And it's one of those. And with the lactose intolerance, you can't drink milk because then it gives you gas. You do a recreation of the cookout scene from Blazing Saddles. And if you want to see a real funny, if you want to see a funny short, look at my short, my Blazing Saddles short, because it uses the audio from that scene with the food that I had that day. Because I had beans, potatoes, and ham. So I thought, beans and ham. Okay, that calls for the Blazing Saddles. So the audio from Blazing Saddles from the cookout scene, Slim Pickens and the Rednecks, very funny, and I laughed my head off. All the belching, farting, it laughed my head off. And you want a good laugh? Look at that short. Green eyes are a recessive trait. Green eyes are a recessive trait. Uncle Al is pointing out that he's not lactose intolerant. The Japanese. Okay. Some of our best allies in Asia are the Japanese people. A great people. So if you take a person with blue eyes with a person with green eyes, because green eyes are recessive, blue eyes are recessive, but blue eyes are dominant over green eyes. So 3 out of 4 of your kids will have blue eyes. 1 child out of 4 would have green eyes. Same thing when you have brown eyes. And my father had brown eyes. My mother had blue eyes. My father's father had blue eyes. My father's mother had brown eyes. So 3 out of 4 of my grandparents were blue-eyed. 1 was brown-eyed. My father having brown eyes and my mother having blue eyes. I wound up with blue eyes, which is a recessive. I could have wound up with brown eyes. And I wound up with my mother's blonde hair. My father had brown hair, dark brown hair. His mother had dark brown hair. Father was blondish hair, blue eyes, his father. And I wound up having blonde hair like my mother, and then I lost it. I tell you, I got people that will tell me that they get, that they get diarrhea, they have milk. They get gas, they go to the bathroom, they got bloating, their stomach pain. Then, I mean, I've got people who tell me, man, they basically have gas like you would not believe. You know, I was watching. They were having an interview about the making of The Princess Bride, which was a real classic movie, and um, Andre the Giant was in it. Now, Andre the Giant, may he rest in peace. He was like 7'4", 500 pounds. French, Andre the French Giant. He did wrestling, but then he was also into some movies. He was in The Princess Bride. They were filming a scene in The Princess Bride, and Rob Reiner was the director, and they're all on set, and Andre's there, and all of a sudden there was rumblings, and he cut loose, and somebody supposedly timed it, and they all tell this story uh, about Andre's 16-second FART, that it just shook the building, that it went on and didn't stop for 16 seconds. He just let out a massive, and afterwards everybody's looking, they're all looking around and they're looking at him. Rob Reiner says, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He said, he said, "Now I am boss." He ate like a horse. He would eat like a horse. You know, people tell stories about he'd go and he'd eat like 5 or 6 meals when they go out to eat. And he'd order 5 or 6 different plates of food. He ate like a horse. And big fat guy. May he rest in peace. And but no, he cut loose. It was epic. It was an epic one. Well, there are people who are allergic to stuff. There are people who are allergic. Like most people, you eat like cabbage, like the Germans. You eat cabbage, you eat sausage. You like cabbage and sausage, or you eat like like pinto beans, or you eat, like lima beans, or you eat beans, lentils, and such. Give you gas. It'll give you gas. And I mean, and usually it's not a dud either. It smells bad. You're in some place and it's like, good God Almighty, what died? And well, another thing, like, okay, so when I was young, I was blonde. I was blonde. Every once in a while, I'll pull out a picture from back in the days. This was me when I was about 30. I mean, I was slender. I had a goatee at the time. I had a goatee at the time. Blonde hair. And that was about the time I started losing it. My daughter, when this is her graduate degree, when she graduated with her master's in clinical counseling a year ago. She's 25. And my wife, and yes, she is Hispanic, so the kids half and half. And then this was me as a boy. That I was about 12 years old. I was about 12 then. When I was a baby, I had white hair, and then it got darker. But it was blonde. I was blonde. Back in the day. Yes, she was. Small little thing, 4'9". The daughter's, well, she'll say she's 5'1", but she's about 5 feet. Thank you. Yes, I'm blessed. Um, we don't look the way we do when we were young. I'm 60. I'm going to be 63 years old in a couple of months. And I have no blonde hair. I mean, it's white now, largely white, a little peppery. But blondes tend to go white. If I let this grow and it grows out, it's basically white. I got hair around the perimeter, which I usually shave, white. You can see a little bit in my eyebrows, a little bit darker. Brunettes tend to go salt and pepper, they go gray. If you have dark hair, it goes gray, pretty much. Redheads go white. They go white. I would think Melinda probably was a redhead when she was young. Weren't you, Melinda? Are you still here? I think Melinda might have left. Anyway, I went over pretty well. Didn't really intend to go this far. We're almost at 75 minutes. I will try to be back tomorrow for another edition. I'll try to come up with some pictures. I'll try to post something other from the chicken coop. It's coming out really nice. And I didn't get to the box today, Devil Dog. I hope to try to get to it tomorrow. I have all the components, the boxes and everything. I just need to do it. So I will plan on being back tomorrow, hopefully, for another edition of Coffee Talk. I appreciate you being here. When you get up in the morning, thank God for the day. You don't know how many days you have. You take medication, take your medication, drink coffee, say the Lord's Prayer, contemplate what you're going to do, treat people the way you want to be treated. Life is good, but it is what it is. Everybody be prepared and have a blessed day, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Coffee Talk. Bye-bye.